G'day. I was thinking I look like the wild man from Borneo. I think this is the first time I've actually looked at myself in something resembling a mirror since this morning. I don't know what's happened. Something has, but my hair has just gone wherever it wants. Anywho, gosh, there was, you know what? It's one of those things when you think you've got a video in mind, and then you watch somebody else's video, and then everything just goes to hell. So I just watched Chance Paladin's latest video, and yeah, look, I mean, look, mate, I've kind of seen it all before. I must admit, at one point, myself and my ex-wife decided to go travelling in a caravan, or an RV as you guys called it. Yeah, we did quite a bit of travelling around Australia. We went predominantly around the coastline, starting from South Australia and then down to Mount Gambier, across to Victoria, up the New South Wales coast, and then eventually we managed to get up to the Gold Coast and then across to Darwin, and that's where we came to a stop for reasons that I won't go into. But whilst we're up there, I sort of got to the point where I was running out of work, because at the time I was actually working in the back of the caravan. We had a Supreme base camp, which is around about 24'6" internally, but about 30 foot overall from the ball to the back of the tyre on the back of the van. And it was called a base camp because the original design of it actually had a garage in the back. So it's what they call a toy hauler. So you could put a couple of motorbikes or a quad bike or something similar like that in the back, and you could still carry the wife, the two kids, and obviously kitchen, bathroom, everything else. So we redesigned it, and I turned the garage into an office. And so I did all of my work via email and phone, and it worked pretty much everywhere. This was a while ago, by the way. But yeah, so for nearly 2.5 years, I think it actually ended up turning into about 3.5 by the time I got out of it and moved into a house. But it worked really well. So yeah, I mean, the van still had queen size bed. I redesigned it, of course. That's what I do. And put a laundry in it. So I had a 5.5 kilo washing machine, top loader, and it had a broom cupboard and a full kitchen, lounge room, TV, bedroom, bathroom, separate toilet, separate shower, and it was brilliant. Loved it. But anyway, at some point my work started to slow down whilst I was in Darwin, so I did these occasional trips just on my own. I towed the van all the way from Darwin down to Adelaide, stayed for a couple of weeks, got the workload back up, and went back up. It took me, the quickest I could ever do it was about 3.5 days, because it is about 3,300 kilometres. I don't know what that's in miles, so you're going to have to work that out. But yeah, 3.5 days, and generally that was on cruise control at about 100 kilometres an hour. Rather disappointing in Northern Territory because they've got open speed limits, and I drove for probably 2.5 hours with the van on the back sitting at 100 kilometres an hour and never saw another car. What I really wanted to see was like open speed limits, so therefore where were the Porsches, where were the Ferraris? Even the hotted up Commodores and Falcons were nowhere to be seen. I didn't see one single car or truck travelling at 100 kilometres an hour, which is about 50 miles an hour, I think, for 2.5 hours. Nothing. Not a thing. Not boring, of course, but, you know, it is a fairly straight road. But anyway, got down to Adelaide, and then I'd turn around and go back up again. Now, on one of these trips, I don't drive at night. As soon as the sun decides to start getting down, so I'm normally parked up by around about 4 or 5 o'clock. I refuse to drive at night up there. There's no fences, and there's everything from donkeys to horses to camels to cows to kangaroos to, well, just about anything, just wandering around, and you don't want to hit any of them at speed, and especially at night time. And the spotlights on the Land Cruiser were pretty good, 9-inch LEDs, but yeah, I'm with a caravan on the back. No, it's just not going to happen. And to be honest with you, even with a car on, you just wouldn't do it. I mean, trucks will go through there, but they're road trains. They're 3 or 4 trailers, and they're sitting on about 90 k's an hour, 90 k's to 100 k's an hour, and takes around about 2 to 3 kilometres to stop. So they just keep going. If a kangaroo jumps out, they hit it. I'm pretty sure the thing is that you can't even sort of slam the brakes on, because with 3 or 4 trailers on the back, you're being pushed. You're not stopping, you're being pushed. And so as soon as you hit the brakes, you cause an issue with the stability on the back trailer, which goes wherever the hell it wants. And as soon as that rolls over, you're done for. The whole thing will go over. So they just keep going. They don't stop unless they hit even with a brick wall. I don't think they'd stop. They'd keep going. So yeah, on the way back, I left a roadhouse, or left an overnight stay, and pretty much as soon as the sun came up, because I knew I was good to go. And on my way north, I went. And about an hour up the road, hadn't seen anyone. And next thing, my UHF went off, because I carried them when I was towing a van, and I've still got one in the car now. And a truckie actually called me up and said, "Look, mate," he said, "I've hit a roo, and it's still moving." He said, "Can you deal with it?" And I said, "Sure, no worries." He couldn't turn around. I mean, he's 70 odd meters long. So, even by the time he stopped, he would have stopped 3 kilometers away from where he'd actually hit it. That is, if the brew had actually stayed where it was. And he couldn't turn around. So the road simply isn't wide enough. So he just kept going. And so he gave me a rough idea of where it was, and eventually I found it. The thing was still moving. Its tail was snapped in half. The legs were both snapped in half. A bit the same as Chance's video. Unfortunately, like Americans, we don't carry pew-pews at all. I mean, I do have a license, but I didn't have them because my license is only applicable in South Australia, and so they were locked up and about 2,500 kilometres away, and I was in Northern Territory, so I wouldn't have been able to use them anyway. So all I had was a tyre iron, and we all know where this is going. So I came out, and yeah, the thing was looking at me, and it was moving, and it was trying to get away. Its 2, shall we say, front legs, don't really know that. I mean, they just sit there like this, but they can. They're like a Tyrannosaurus Rex. Honestly, they're. You look at their arms and just go, why? So this thing was trying to drag itself away. I mean, it didn't want a single bar of me, for good reason, because I wasn't there to say good day and see you later. So I got out, had the tyre iron, did what I had to do, and went back to the car, got in, and kept going. And didn't really think much about it. I'd much rather see it not suffer. I would hate to think of what a dingo would have done to it while it was still awake. A bit the same as the coyote and the deer. Luckily there was no one within cooey. There was certainly no vehicles. There was just, there might have been a couple of crows eagerly awaiting its next meal, but that was about it. So I was probably luckier in that regard. But, I've done sheep. When I was a kid, we used to knock off rabbits and skin them and gut them and do all that sort of thing. Kangaroos, we did a kangaroo and I'm talking when I was probably around about 10 or 12, did a kangaroo, sliced it through its guts and then towed it around a paddock and took out about 4 foxes because of it. It honestly doesn't bother me. I suppose the biggest thing when doing the whole skinning and that sort of thing is that you be careful that you don't actually cut into the stomach. And it's a bit disgusting. And I probably should have put a warning at the front. But that's where the smell is. The rest of it, not so much. We've done sheep. I've seen cattle knocked down. I haven't actually done it myself, but I've done the skinning and that sort of business. None of that sort of stuff really bugs me too much. I've bled more than I've seen these things bleed. You want to cut yourself on the head, and man, that doesn't stop. It just throws blood out everywhere. This video's not for kids. But it's the way I grew up. And I don't know too many people who live in the country who don't have a problem with it. It's just part and parcel of what we do. I predominantly lived in the city, but I've spent too much time out bush. And it's just part of life. There's been things I've seen out there that I've photographed and I cannot post them. Because, I know I'm okay with it because it's just what country is. If you have any sort of idea about what the country is meant to be, it's not all, pretty roses and hay fever. It's a true life and death struggle out there for anything that lives out there. It is not pleasant. It is not wonderful, but it's their home and they get used to it, and it's just what happens. Sometimes lambs will be born and they won't last a day, and where they pass away is where they pass away. And it's the same with everything else out there. It's just another meal for another animal that's out there to do exactly what that lamb was trying to do, survive. And you kind of get used to this whole life cycle sort of situation. You kind of get used to the idea of seeing it. You get used to everything about it. You understand where your food comes from. You understand it because you were feeding that lamb, and then it grew up, and then eventually it became lamb chops and a lamb roast at Christmas. And it's like growing vegetables. It's like taking the seed, putting it into the ground. You know what that seed is. You water it. You make sure it's safe. You make sure it grows. And eventually you might get a carrot or an apple out of it. And then eventually, for some unknown reason, no matter what you do, that plant will pass away. And it goes back into the ground and it becomes fertilizer for the next plant you grow. And it's no different to animals that live out there. You sort of see it all the time. And it's just the way it is. And with regards to, people and I've spoken to them, and I've seen their comments, and I've read their comments, and all of them seem to think they're going to pick up a bag and run out bush. For someone who spends easily 80 nights a year sleeping in a sleeping bag out bush, it's not 24 degrees during the daytime and rather pleasant at night, where you can sit down and have your campfire and everyone's happy. Sometimes it's windy. I mean, it's windy. I'm not going to swear, even though I've just told the story. But it's very annoyingly windy. Sometimes it spits. You get that really annoying rain. It's like mist. And it's like you get soaking wet. It's freezing cold. And it's like, just rain. I mean, just forget about this rubbish and rain. Get it over and done with, and then we can all move on. Okay? Good. So, yeah, if you expect to come out and have 27-degree days, and I'm talking Celsius, by the way, not Fahrenheit, it's not always going to be like that. And another thing that Chance actually made mention was a torch. I mean, I run rechargeables, and only because I don't really like carrying a whole pile of batteries around. All I need really is a solar panel, and my torches will last forever. It's not going to make a difference. And that was the whole point in getting rechargeables. I can recharge them. I think the brightest one is about 1500 lumen. I mean, a lot of people are just going to laugh at that, but honestly, it's enough. And on a really, really dark night, yeah, I can see for about 2 kilometres. I think the biggest thing that a lot of people don't understand is that once you actually get out of the city and you have no other artificial light, you can actually see quite clearly, even on a moonless night with just a starlight. And I can see quite a distance in front of me without too many issues. Can I see anyone coming? I probably could within about 100 or 200 metres, but beyond that, no. And okay, fair enough. But by the same token, if I turn the torch on, every man and his bloody dog can see me from miles away, because we kind of forget that a torch, even if you've got it on a very singular beam out there, you can see the glow from over the top of the hill. So if you're 2 kilometres away, you can see a glow over the top of a hill. So you know someone's there, and especially if it's moving. It's surprising how far you can see light. And I often see spotlights out there when people are spotlighting. And you can see them from 5 kilometres away without any issues at all. It's a bit like if you've ever stood inside on a very dark hill, or even as you're driving, you can see lights coming, especially if they've got the high beam on. And it seems to take forever for the car to get there. It's no different with a torch. And if someone's stuffing around with a strobe or something similar, then you've got bigger issues. It's one of those things that once you're outside of the city limits, there's a lot of things that happen that a lot of people just aren't aware of. And it's something to keep in mind. Light security is huge. Even from a fire, okay, a lot of people make mention that you can smell it, which you can, and it smells like a bushfire, but you're never really sure which direction it's coming from. But torchlight at night, oh my gosh, you've got to be super careful about how you use your torch, how you shield it, etc., etc. So there is a lot to consider from that side of things. And it's not at home. I mean, camping out bush is not being at home. I mean, here I'm warm, I'm comfortable. Out bush, as much as I've made it incredibly comfortable, I would put it at around about 50% compared to here. I'm comfortable out there, no problems at all. If I took someone else out there, particularly female, they'd probably want to come home because it's not home. So even though my campsite is incredibly well set up, incredibly, comfortable, it's blocked from the wind. It's got all the comforts of home. I mean, it doesn't have a TV, but it doesn't have carpet, but the chair's comfortable, the table's comfortable. I eat well out there. I sleep incredibly well out there. It's probably I would probably set it about 50 to 60% of where home is. So there's still about 40% missing once you're out there. But today's Thursday. I'm recording this on Thursday night. It is roughly 7:27. So PM, that is. It is dark outside. Tomorrow I'm off to Adelaide again. So I'll probably miss a couple of shows on YouTube, but I'll catch up with them all. And then I'll probably spend the weekend out bush because I have to go and pick up my new toy. And for those that know what my new toy is, yeah, I'm going to have fun. And I have to build a toilet. I really have to build a toilet. So as much as it's sort of suggesting it's going to be cloudy, it's not going to be good for star watching or anything like that. But, I'll have a campfire. My bed will be warm. I'll have bacon and eggs in the morning on Saturday morning. And then I'll get to work. And then I'll have some fun. And that's one of the mantras in I suppose, what we do is, by all means, keep doing what you're doing. If you haven't started yet, get moving. But otherwise, just keep doing little things. Keep doing things that will make a difference later. And then I'll have a bit of fun, which, I'm looking forward to. I really want to get out to about 500, 600 metres. I'm hoping that'll happen. So, but we'll see. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. You guys have a good night. Thank you, Charts, for your video. I wasn't going to talk about this. I was actually going to talk about data centres, but that's a whole other story. Hope you have a great day and take care and look after yourselves. See you later.